shall ask Saskia from Suzy Lamplugh Trust to speak for between 5 and 7 minutes.
Thank you so much. It's really lovely to see you all here today. The Suzy Lamplugh Trust, some of you might be familiar with campaigns for the right to be safe for everyone. We work with victims of stalking and harassment, and we lobby for systemic change in policy and legislation to reduce violence and aggression in society and ensure victim services are better provided for, and that victims are supported in seeking justice for the crimes that they experience. And much of that work is focused on public spaces. So we provide frontline services for victims. We have the National Stalking Helpline, but we also set up and manage perpetrator intervention programmes to try and look at the root causes and prevent and reduce stalking and harassment at its earliest stages. We do position our work within the framework of violence against women and girls because we recognise that women are disproportionately affected by stalking and harassment. Some of you might know the story of Suzy Lamplugh. She was an estate agent. She disappeared in 1986 in the course of an ordinary working day. She was showing a client around a house and essentially disappeared in broad daylight. She was later declared deceased, and it's assumed that she was kidnapped and murdered. And her parents really channeled their energy some months after she disappeared into raising awareness about issues of safety and violence against women and girls. And really we continue to champion that today. We raise awareness ourselves and we conduct training around these issues, again with that conception of prevention and then support for those who experience these issues. So we actually have a really long-standing campaign around harassment in public places, particularly on public transport and taxis. But sexual harassment across other public spaces remains a really serious concern. We've actually carried out research in recent years to look at the prevalence of that, particularly on public transport. And while we did interview all respondents, we did note that women were more likely to experience public sexual harassment, particularly sexual assault and rape, and also other behaviours which might not be classed as criminal as such, but are certainly extremely harmful, unwanted, and extremely damaging. We hear from victims all the time about how that normalisation of those behaviours really has a long-term impact on them. And we are supporting a call for a public sexual harassment law to encapsulate all those behaviours. And we also look at the role of bystanders and how we can all play a better role in calling out and addressing those behaviours in public spaces. We run bystander intervention training, and we really encourage people to safely step in and support those when they see that harassment taking place. So our work links to women's safety quite broadly. We do see, very sadly, these behaviours replicated across transport, on the streets, and in fact all public places, and we've only got to look at the news to see repeated horrendous and tragic incidents such as the murders of Eva Henry and Nicole Smallwood, to name but a very few. So we cannot ignore the prevalence of these behaviours and the fact that all forms of harassment can lead to that wider normalisation of violence. So we strongly believe that everyone has the right to be safe wherever and whoever they are. As I said, we really strive to tackle the root causes of that. So removing those specific obstacles to particularly women and girls enjoying that safety in all spaces, and particularly in public spaces, and today we're talking about parks, is a part of the jigsaw to making women and girls feel safer in their everyday lives and wherever they are. So just thinking about some of the solutions that we'll be discussing over the next couple of days, we do think the guidance is really excellent and useful, and really encourage you all to look at it really closely. And we do think that involving women and girls on committees and panels to look at what the solutions are in each particular setting is vital revisiting what's going to work for them specifically. But we also as an organisation support calling out unwanted behaviours, countering that normalisation, and really emphasising that these behaviours are unacceptable, they're criminal, they will not be tolerated, and we would like to see that increased in park spaces to invite women and girls in there. So, as I said, I think this guidance is a great step towards looking at some of the practical solutions. While we know, that street lighting and planning isn't the only answer, and what's needed, of course, is that wider systemic change to counter violence against women and girls. It's also, reducing the physical space where these behaviours can take place is part of that jigsaw and part of countering and preventing, perpetrators having that space to carry those behaviours out. So we want to see those spaces reclaimed for everyone, and we really look forward to discussing some of those